Great leaders inspire and innovate. Great managers execute and scale. But what happens if you do just one? You can ask Kodak, WeWork, Nokia or Apple before Jobs and Cook came back and saved the company. Welcome to the proprietary cycle of reinvention, which explain in detail the leadership management symbiosis and why ignoring any of these could tank your team or company. I'm Michał, a senior engineering manager, and this talk is based on true stories. Ready? Let's jump in. In the beginning, there was chaos, so let's start there. When you spin up a startup, a team, or any form of new initiative, there is chaos, right? It's undeniable. I lived through it while creating new teams, but also now doing this YouTube channel. There are so many unknowns, new things and problems to solve that we can basically summarize it as chaos. I think it's a default for many founders and innovators. They know how to connect the dots in these chaotic structures and figure out the best way forward. So, what skills do you need to possess to take chaos and change it into innovation? First, vision, then taking action, persistence, decision making and accountability. If you have a thought that these skills are a huge part of what it means to be a leader, you are probably right. Let's start with a vision. You have to have an idea, spot something that's worth doing, define clear and inspiring objective that you and others will believe is worth pursuing. How to do that? It's $1 million question. Some people have it, others have to learn it. How to spark your innovative inner mind? I'll try to answer that on a different day, but there is a famous unconfirmed quote from Henry Ford, a pioneer in cars making. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. It's the essence of innovation and vision. You can see that he not only spotted the gap in the market, but knew exactly what he wanted to accomplish. But you've probably heard the saying, ideas are cheap. You have to act on them. And here we jump into all the other points. Let's discuss them one by one. Taking action. If you have an idea but you don't execute it, it's worthless. You have to be proactive and start converting the idea into reality. But how to do it? How do you accomplish the ultimate goal that you have created in your vision? You have to be persistent. And it's hard. Believe me, I'm living through it right now. When I think I've created an amazingly educational video and it gets 30 views and 2 likes, it's hard to be persistent and move on to the next one. But it's necessary. I love this quote from Roger Federer, one of the best tennis players who ever played the game. In tennis, perfection is impossible. In 1,526 matches I played in my career, I won almost 80% of those matches. Now I have a question for you. What percentage of points do you think I won in those matches? Only 54%. In other words, top-ranked tennis players win barely more than a half of the points they play. Champions lose again and again and have learned to deal with it. To become a master at overcoming hard moments, that is the mark of a champion. The best in the world are not the best because they win every point, but because they know they will lose again and again and have learned how to deal with it. But there is a difference between persistence and stubbornness. Persistence means you adapt, you change and do whatever is necessary to accomplish the goal. Stubbornness, on the other hand, sounds similar, but it's not. Stubborn people don't adapt or change their mind when presented with something better. They want to be right regardless of the facts. So be persistent, not stubborn. At some point though, a decision has to be made with full data available or not, with everyone aligned or not. You have to be able to make decisions and be accountable for the results, especially for bad ones. Jobs said, sometimes when you innovate, you make mistakes. it is best to admit them quickly and get on with improving your other innovations. Okay, but at this stage there is one more important point to be made. You have to be able to influence others and see potential in them. Of course, there is an example of Steve Wozniak and Jobs, whereby many Wozniak is considered the creative one and Jobs the one that could make something out of this creativity. But also how Jobs convinced Tim Cook to join Apple, regardless of him having an amazing position in a much better company. So that's what leadership is about. More or less. I could spend hours talking about each of these points, but this video will be long enough without it. By the way, if you find my content useful and would like to learn more about how to be a great leader and manager, please subscribe. It will help me be persistent and keep going. And that's how we move to step 2. Innovation. We created an innovation, but innovation by itself is amazing, but needs structure, processes, and routines to make it profitable. You want to know what happens if you don't formalize this success? You will end up like WeWork. Let's look at it for a second. They moved from chaos to innovation, right? So WeWork disrupted traditional office leasing by innovating with flexible co-working spaces. And then it should follow with a second step, right? Converting this innovation to processes. However, instead of formalizing sustainable processes and financial controls, WeWork focused on rapid growth without a solid operational foundation. The lack of routine processes like cost management or scalable business practices led to chaos in its finances. Overexpansion and lack of discipline culminated in bankruptcy. Here is where the world of management comes in. Do you know who is an extraordinary example of one of the best managers currently leading one of the top companies in the world? Tim Cook, the person nominated by Steve Jobs as Apple's next CEO. And you know why? Because without him, there would be no Apple as we know it today. Steve Jobs was a visionary and product-focused leader, while Cook is detail-oriented, analytical, and operations-focused. Cook's strength balanced Jobs' creative genius, creating an amazing duo. Tim Cook represents operational excellence. He focuses on efficiency and profitability. He converts innovation into money-making machine. People were very negative toward his less charismatic style, but I disagree with the critics. These two skills, leadership and management, go hand in hand, and it's the symbiosis that it's important, and Steve Jobs knew it. When he returned to Apple, when it was almost bankrupt, he gave it all to convince Tim to join. Jobs knew what skills he lacked and what Apple needed. A genius to create processes and turn them into routines to maximize efficiency. To do a quick skill list, managers are expert at operational vision, so converting high-level vision into actual steps. Risk management, planning, processes optimization, operational efficiency, resource management, and many others. Oh, and by the way, please like this video if you find it useful. But it wouldn't be a cycle if we didn't go back to chaos, right? So let's talk about it. Do you know what Apple, Kodak, and Nokia have in common? They got stuck in routine. They stopped innovating and creating leaders who are capable of breaking the status quo and thinking differently. Instead of embracing digital technology and pivoting their business model, Kodak stuck to its film-based routine and failed to capitalize on its innovation. This reluctance to adapt led to further losses and to competitors like, Sony and Canon, which captured the photography market. Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012. And that shows that even industry pioneers can fall if they don't adapt to embrace new technology. If you think about it, Nokia followed the same pattern. As the market shifted towards smartphones, Nokia failed to innovate out of its routine and adapt to changing landscapes. By the time they attempted to pivot and incorporate Windows Phone system, the competition had already captured the market. Believe it or not, Apple was also in the same spot. After Jobs has left the company in 1985, they were able to maintain success for a couple of years, but in 1997 they reached the bottom and reached out to the couple companies for potential buyout, but were refused. And there is a famous quote from Michael Dell of Dell Inc. that if he would be in charge of Apple, he would shut it down and give the money back to stakeholders. So, to make Apple great again, Jobs knew Apple has to innovate. But don't take it from me, here is Steve Jobs talking about it. Apple is the company that was based on innovation. When I left Apple 10 years ago, we were 10 years ahead of everybody else. It took Microsoft 10 years to copy Windows. The problem was that Apple stood still. Even though it invested cumulatively billions in R&D, the output has not been there, and people have caught up with it, and its differentiation has eroded, in particular with respect to Microsoft. So the way out for Apple, and I still think Apple has a future, there are some awful good people there and there is a tremendous brand loyalty to that company. I think the way out is not to slash and burn, it's to innovate. But he knew from leading Apple before that innovation isn't everything. That's why he took Tim Cook with him, and together they created one of the most impressive companies in the world. Regardless of whether you are a born leader or a manager, to be successful you have to do both, and do it well. And if you can only do one thing really well, be like Steve Jobs and delegate the other part to someone else exceptionally good. If you want to learn more about delegation, please watch this video. Thanks, and I will see you next time.